With training camp underway and the first preseason game in the books, the James Harden saga continues on for the Sixers. Today we have some new intel from Adrian Wojnarowski on what the exact holdup is on a James Harden trade and why this is an issue for the Sixers. My name is Sean Barnard and I'm here to break down everything in that video today. Before I dive fully into it though, I would like to make sure that you guys are hitting that subscribe button. At this point in time, 86.1% of you guys have not subscribed to the channel yet. I am appreciative of the 14% of you guys that have. We got plenty of big plans for the Sixers season. It is right around the corner now. We have some actual basketball in front of us that I'm excited to talk about. But today I do want to dive into the James Harden discussion, which of course the overarching concern for the Sixers season as a whole. So let's dive into it today. Let's begin with the Woj report here. He was on ESPN First Take and a couple other shows around the NBA. I believe this was Inside the NBA. But he talked today, and the quote from Woj is said, quote, "The Clippers are saying to Daryl Morey, okay, so you don't believe that our 2018 first-round pick has enough value. They're going around to other teams to see if that pick or a pick swap gets them maybe multiple picks." So that does seem to be the holdup. As much as there's so much attention being paid to Terrence Mann, who's a nice player, and I know a lot of Sixers fans have fallen in love with a little bit, that it is these picks that Daryl Morey is so focused on getting, that it is the ultimate route to a star. That I think Daryl Morey has shifted the goalpost from trading Harden for a player that could put the Sixers in a better position to trading for a package of picks and players that will overall put the Sixers in a better position. This does not mean that a James Harden return will be a star-level player. In fact, I think it's very unlikely that that would be the case at this point in time. But if you can find a way to get 2 draft picks, get some flexibility, get some cap flexibility, and then you approach next offseason with all this cap space, with some additional draft picks and the assets to get a better player, then the Sixers are in business a little bit. Now, to dive a little bit more specifically into some of the comments here, is there was another report by Woj saying that the Clippers want to get a deal done sooner rather than later. He added that LA doesn't want to increase their offer given that they're the only team bidding. That is kind of the root of this issue here. And a lot of this is brought on by these stars like James Harden and like Damian Lillard going out and seeking out and saying, I want to play for this specific team here. Now, for starters, there is a point in time where you can do that. That is the beauty of free agency, that we have teams around the NBA that are players around the NBA. When they hit their free agent point, you can sign with whoever you want. But when you're under contract with the Sixers, and it should not be forgotten that James Harden opted into his player option, that he very well was this free agent that could have chosen whatever team he decided to play for. He elected to opt into the $36 million player option to ensure he was getting his top value, which is fine. You're free to do that. But that meant you're playing for the Sixers. To do that and now request this trade, there's a little bit of a problem, and that's why we're at this stalemate. Now, we saw what happened with the Miami Heat, that Damian Lillard had handpicked them as his destination for many months. They ultimately missed out on him, that he is now going to be suiting up for the Milwaukee Bucks this year. Will the same thing happen to the Clippers? I do not know. That is still to be determined. But what we do have is the specific offer that Daryl Morey allegedly has heard, according to Shams Charania. And what that offer is an unprotected first-round pick, a pick swap, and expiring salaries. What those expiring contracts were at this point in time, it would be either Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, or Nick Batum. It seems to be one of those 3 guys, if not 2 of those 3 guys, potentially. Somewhere along those lines, some combination of those players is somewhere where it's going. Is that a needle mover? Is this something that you look at for a James Harden trade and think, yeah, I'm good with that? Probably not. And Daryl Morey, absolutely not. That we know Morey, ingrained in his DNA, is a guy that wants to win a deal, to make sure that he is putting his team in a better position, to make sure that he is getting the best quote-unquote value for his players. That's not this. And that's the unfortunate reality of this, is until there's another team that shows face, wants to get involved in the James Harden sweepstakes. Could it be the Miami Heat perhaps, or another team? That's what it's going to take to push the James Harden market further and really get a deal done. Is this going to take another team to push the Clippers? That Daryl Morey has this price point that he says James Harden is worth this. The Clippers are not reaching this. So they need another player to push it to that before a deal gets done. And the Clippers are sitting there, and fair enough from their perspective, they're saying, dude, you don't have another offer out here. You have no offer that competes with this. You think we're going to up our offer against nobody? We're not going to do that. And you know what? We're pretty content with the team we have right now. And by the way, the value from the Clippers' perspective of getting James Harden, they're still thinking about that playoff run. Now, I know plenty of us are scarred from playoff James Harden as well, so we're thinking we want him off our hands at that point, but that is not how the Clippers are thinking. And I will say that as much as so much gets lost in the noise in here, James Harden does make sense for the Clippers. I mean, we know what James Harden is as a player, that he's a guy that just last year averaged 21.0 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, averaged 10.7 assists per game, shot 38.5% from three, which is the best three-point percentage he's had since he was with the Thunder over a decade ago. That's impressive stuff. And I think he makes sense for the Clippers as a floor-raising regular season player, that Harden can be a guy that while Kawhi misses time and while Paul George misses time, and we know these are guys that in and out of the lineup, James Harden can have his nights where he can have his 40-point performances, where he can get 20-plus shots off. He will have those opportunities when those guys are out. He can raise the ceiling of all these players around him and ensure that the Clippers are a playoff team, and then kind of hand off the keys to Kawhi and Paul George come playoff time and see if they can take things home. In theory, that makes sense to me. It makes a lot more sense than, honestly, the Sixers for James Harden at this point in time. And I've also given up trying to figure out what James Harden wants. That we know that he's a guy you can fill up an all-time great team with his best former teammates at this point in time. We saw him have everything catered to him in Houston. Didn't want that anymore. We saw him join a super team in Brooklyn. Didn't want that anymore. I thought coming to Philadelphia was the moment for James Harden where he was ready to take a step back from his usage, be a true co-star to Joel Embiid, who, by the way, is very clearly the better basketball player at this point in time. That all he talks about, this sacrifice from James Harden perspective, dude, he's just better than you. That he's the MVP of the NBA for a reason. So that is the reason why the offense is catered to him a little more, because he is better than you. Now, is there a chance that James Harden has this second flame? Is he still way better than a significant amount of players in the NBA? Absolutely. No arguments there. But for him to be upset by kind of taking this sacrifice, and then very clearly upset by Daryl Morey's handling of this contract situation, which is a whole different discussion. And frankly, I think Morey is not blameless in all of this. So I think there's plenty to talk about there. But what does James Harden want? The goal for him is to get another massive contract. Whether that happens or where that happens is to be determined. But for him, I think it does a lot of good to kind of get this out of the way. He is doing his best job. He is staying on his best behavior for now, but that can change at the drop of the hat. While he remains in the facility with the Sixers, taking care of business, everyone seems to be bought in. Everyone seems to be okay with him there. It's very clear that this is not an issue between James Harden and the Sixers. It's between James Harden and Daryl Morey. That his guys, his teammates, guys that he respects, him sharing with the court with, he is not doing a disservice to them by dogging it, by competing. And as I mentioned, this can change at a drop of the hat. That James Harden, all of a sudden, he doesn't feel there's proper traction being taken for potential trade. All of a sudden, he wants to cause a stir. That absolutely could happen. And maybe this offer is then looking like a fairy tale compared to what would offer if he starts burning down the building in the same way that we've seen him done at two other locations. But for now, Daryl Morey does have to hold strong. Because the unfortunate reality is, from Daryl Morey's perspective, the best case scenario for the Sixers is for James Harden to buy in again. That he believes, Daryl Morey believes, the Sixers' best route to winning is for James Harden to be a part of that team. I don't know if that's true or not. I understand the reasoning that I don't think they're going to get a better player out of this trade. So I guess purely by that, I get the logic that if you want to take the approach of let's just ride out this last season with James Harden, see what happens, see what kind of leap Tyrese Maxey can take. And then at the conclusion of the season, James Harden's $36 million is off the books. Tobias Harris's $35 million is off the books. Kelly Oubre, Mo Bamba, Pat Beverly, all these one-year deals off the books. And we're looking at Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and millions upon millions of dollars in cap space. That is the Sixers' grand plan. That is what Daryl Morey has in the back of his mind. And that, to me, felt like the worst-case scenario, the fallback plan. And all of a sudden, it's looking like plan A to me based on how Sixers are managing things. Who knows how well that would work out? I personally have spoken out against this plan in the past for the simple reason of, in theory, this works. If stars wanting to come to Philadelphia, finding guys, we have the MVP of the league in Joel Embiid. These are players. Tyrese Maxey, extremely fun to play with, extremely fun young player. These are guys that should have the gravity to command players. We know Joel Embiid playing in the Olympics next year. Cue up the tampering for that point in time. But I just struggle to fully buy into the principle that stars can look at Philadelphia and what has gone on this past decade and think, that is an organization that I want to represent. That is a team that I want to play for. I just don't know how realistic that is. Would it be great? Would it be amazing if LeBron James is sitting in a Lakers locker room right now thinking, maybe Philly seems all right. Maybe Bronny will like playing in Philly next year. Maybe I join up with Joel Embiid. Would it be awesome if Kawhi and Paul George are sitting there saying, forget James Harden coming here. What if we just both hop to Philly next year? Would that be amazing? Of course. But how likely is that really? With all this noise, with all the ongoing rumors and reports and frustrations and out-of-the-box issues that have happened with the Sixers over the last decade, can we really buy in? Is that our plan A? I don't know. For now, we see in how this James Harden situation will wrap itself up. There could be the Clippers up their offer, and all of a sudden a deal is going tomorrow. That is still on the table as well. Maybe James Harden freaks out, starts burning the bridges, and is even more upset. That is all very much on the table. But for now, we are at the mercy of the Beard, seeing what he does and what he decides to bring to the table. We have seen Sixers preseason in action. I was very excited by the on-court ability, that there's some scrappiness to the team. We're seeing the Nick Nurse influence specifically on their defense right away. So who knows? We have some actual basketball to break down. As of now, James Harden sat out the first preseason game. I would probably expect that continue moving forward. We will see from here. But for now, we will sit and wait. Thank you guys for tuning in this video. Appreciate you guys listening. Make sure to drop a subscribe to the channel, drop a like on this video, drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts. I want to hear from your perspective what the best case scenario of this James Harden situation playing out is. Is it a trade for somebody specific? Is it playing out this season? What is it in your mind? What is the best outcome to this James Harden situation? For me, I'm still making up my mind on that topic as a whole. I really would love for this to be over and have some clarity on this roster for this season at least. But you know what? I'll make do what we can. I will be breaking things down every step of the way right here on Sixers Digest. Appreciate you guys for tuning in once again, and I will talk with you next time. Peace.